Welcome, beautiful divine masculine and feminine darlings. This is the Seraphim Gem Gypsy, SeraFae Indigo Empress, and Shiloh Horizon. I don't plan to be here for too long, but I did just wake up with some dream prophecy. Oh dear, this needs a little bit more acetone. I'm just cleaning up a little bit. Look at my paintbrushes from doing my nails. But while I multitask, hold on. So I got a bit of dream prophecy. In fact, let me hold on to that one for a second too. Feel free to grab some water. I'm going to put this acetone in here and grab some myself. I think we'll do some Reiki for a moment as well. And I also have a song that I've been hearing in the track list I've been listening to. Here you go. Hi, kitty kitty. Hello. Welcome. I hope you slept well. Must awakened. I'ma get some more, they gon' see my shine, they gon' feel my glow. As I free my mind, if I feel my soul, I'ma get real easy, I'ma take it slow. I'ma save my money, I'ma spend my dough. I'ma get this sweet, I'ma lose control. I'ma rip my city, I'ma ring that glow. Witness how they get now, but you witness how they act now. I be talking on facts, ain't never gon' cap. Yeah, my life is what I rap, y'all. And my truth, I wouldn't hide it. Motherfuckers trying to fight it, trying to flip it upside me. And my truth, I wouldn't hide it. Motherfuckers wanna fight it. That was a line that I was thinking of the other day. And my truth, I wouldn't hide it. Motherfuckers wanna fight it. I just woke up. I need to go run through the shower and start my day. I definitely need to grab some water and shake off the sleep. I hear it in my voice too. How am I? Happy to be alive. Thank you. So as far as this dream prophecy goes, I will finish this song. But I'm getting the call to kick this out now. Very short and sweet. I did wake up from this dream prophecy hearing this particular song. Good, I'm glad you slept well. And this dream was about people who play with witchcraft and spell work, people who believe in cults and covens, and even if they don't do that, it's that they do it by themselves. I saw somebody at their house though, and this may be both for some people. Some people may be, let's do some Reiki while I'm here too. Realist don't get no truth, I wouldn't hide it. Motherfuckers wanna fight it. So there are people who play with witchcraft, and they believe, I learned about this in a vision a few years ago, and I actually had to Google. No, caffeine makes me anxious actually, so I don't like that. What I will do though is I'll have some kombucha. Well, technically that does have a bit of caffeine in it. It's made with green tea, but it's not as much as coffee. I try to avoid that. Same thing with the inhaler. I try not to use this as much as possible for a few reasons. One, your body can become dependent on it and it's not good, meaning it works less effectively when you do that. And also it gives you this really fast caffeine rush kind of a feeling. It makes your heart race. It kind of makes you jittery, like an anxiety attack, or like you've had too much caffeine, and I don't like that very much. It also makes it harder to breathe when you're anxious like that, so it's kind of counterproductive. Somebody says why? For a few reasons, including the inflammation from the stress compresses the air pathways, and so the breathing tubes basically swell and they close up. So how does it make me anxious? It's just biochemistry. Some people it doesn't have that effect, and frankly, some people it does have that effect, and I don't think they realize it's the caffeine. Cigarettes are actually the same. Similarly, people reach for cigarettes to calm down usually because they think that it will calm them down. And part of that's true. And the reason that they feel that way is because it kind of is a little bit, but there's a catch to that and it cancels that part of it out. So I heard that. She's so smart. So alcohol is a depressant. Caffeine is a stimulant. Cigarettes are both. So in alcohol, if somebody's very high energy, the thought is that it will lower their nervous system energy. Nervous system, okay? And, oh yeah, smoking causes cancer. Cigarettes, I don't smoke cigarettes. In fact, I'm actually allergic to those. I try to avoid them. Tobacco. I've never smoked myself, not cigarettes, but I try to avoid being around it for a few reasons, including secondhand smoke is also not good for you. You can get cancer that way, but it's just not good to breathe in general, especially when you already have issues with it. But nonetheless, so tobacco, people reach for it because they think it will calm them down, and that's a trick of the brain and the nervous system. It's the depressant in it that makes them feel that way. But since cigarettes are also a stimulant, the second they smoke to try to calm down, that stimulant kicks in. Most people don't know about that part. So then it kicks their anxiety back up. And that's when they start chain smoking cigarettes because they feel like they need another one to calm down. And it's just a bad cycle. And I don't think people understand the biochemistry, the brain chemistry of it. But that's what's going on. So yeah, food for thought on that. No, we don't drink coffee, but kombucha is good. And even sometimes that, I if I'm already in a state, I know to avoid caffeine altogether. But I will drink this. So as far as speaking of the glass bottle, hence the cover photo or excuse me, the title bar and emojis, it's like medicine. This is, yes, for me. This is good for your gut. It's good for your stomach. It's got lots of probiotics in it. And then those are actually really good for your brain too. So the whole system communicates better back and forth. In fact, the stomach is often called the second brain because of the way that it's constantly communicating with the brain and back and forth. It tells you when you're hungry and when you're thirsty, and those signals are constantly going back and forth. And then once you've eaten enough, it takes about 15 minutes from the time you start eating to the time your body is able to process that the full cue saying that you're not hungry anymore. So if people rush to eat their meal in 5 minutes, they're probably going to overeat because it takes 15 minutes for your brain to recognize that you are full. That's why it's important to try to slow down a little bit. I also don't think that kids and people in school especially get enough lunch. They don't get enough time to sit down and properly eat and digest, and I mean, that's not good for being able to focus and think at school. And then also there's the issue of, are they being fed well? And not even just are they being fed enough, what are they being fed in quality? Because the quality of food definitely affects the mental focus and, I mean, really everything. Mental focus, mood, behavioral, everything can be affected by this. This is also why the stomach is often called the second brain. It's because of the way, this is why we deal with the probiotics. Yes, they're good for your gut, but that's also good for your brain and back and forth. You should have this if you're in I think they have kombucha in England. That's in fact where you are. And if they don't have it, I'm sure you could make it, though you do need to be mindful of it, because if you're not, you can accidentally grow some kind of weird bacteria or something you probably shouldn't be drinking, but it is possible. Yeah, the kombucha is available in England. It says it's actually, the popularity of it is on the rise. It's becoming increasingly common in stores and cafes, and there are even UK-based kombucha brewers now. Oh, so sorry, that was loud. That was my Dutch oven. Speaking of languages and countries. And over here making bread. Hi, kitty kitty. He's a cute boy. Did you have a little sleepy? Hi, honey bunny. Did you just wake up? He's so pretty. 11:11. So there's that, food for thought. You may be able to find it in a health food store, and they sell it in regular grocery stores here. It's just usually in the fruits and vegetables section here. I imagine that they probably have it in the drink section in some places, but it would be probably like where the tea is, and like homemade juices, and I guess it's not homemade, but companies that make their own juice and sell it. Smaller companies. What was that one particular organic brand that they sell? It's not Uncle Matt's. It's one of those smaller, healthier companies. Meaning less mass production. They care more about the quality of their food and the content. But anyway, it's in that section. There's usually juice and kombucha. In my case, they sell it right next to slices of watermelon and pre-cut fruit and stuff like that. I don't get that stuff. I always get it whole and cut it myself for a few reasons. It's fresher that way, and I also don't trust people's hands who've been on it. No, I'm not going to wash the fruit after it's been cut. I don't want your hands on it. You wash it before you cut it. I don't know whose hands have touched that. I don't know if they sneezed in the bowl. And I used to work in that grocery store. I know some of these people. No, I'm good. In fact, some of the people who work there and do those particular jobs, yeah, they don't like me. They're not nice. They bullied me since high school. So, no, I'm good. I'll cut my own fruit. And do. Thank you very much. So there's that. Hi, baby, I see you. Thanks for letting me know you're there, but I saw you. I got you, baby. You need some water, too. Get some water. Want some brekkie? Come on, baby. Want some more? Oh, careful, babies. That was a big jump. Okay, so back to these jar spells. I learned about this a few years ago. I saw it in a vision and I had to Google it. So there are people, whether they are part of a cult or not, maybe it's solo magic, maybe they're doing it out of their back of their house or their basement. But they do this thing where they'll take a jar, like one of the jars that SpongeBob catches jellyfish in. I don't know why, but I just got a vision of that. Somebody must watch that or have kids or nieces and nephews and know what I'm talking about. That kind of a jar. If you know, you know. Who knows? If you know, you know. Okay. And so, putting on lip balm. Hold on. they'll go and they'll write out all the hateful things that they feel about somebody, or they'll write out all the bad things they want to happen to somebody on little slips of paper, or they will write out their own insecurities or their own issues or their own injuries or weaknesses or illness or self-loathing, and they'll write all these different things that they don't like about themselves on paper, and they'll stuff it into, it's black magic, you're right, they'll stuff it into this jar, and they'll imagine that the jar is the life or the body or the mind of the target. So they're trying to put all their own insecurities into this jar to send them to the victim. They're trying, basically an energy transfer or life swap, destiny swap. And that's what I just got a dream of. Now, they've been doing this for years, trying it. I saw this a few years ago, but I just had this dream about it. And so I would say either they're still trying to do it again, or this is where the backfire, we'll check on it. This is the backfire of them doing that. But yeah, so it's very much like narcissism in general. They're just using a physical jar as a magic form of it. But this is what narcissistic projection is. They try to throw all the things they don't like about themselves onto other people, and then copy the things about other people that they like, or they think are likable, they think other people like, or they think are cool. It's really crazy. But so are they. No, don't get me wrong. I'm not going to judge people who have this and that and issues. Somebody who's a little bit maybe on the spectrum or something just got a little triggered by that. No. I'm not offended by that brand of crazy. This type of crazy is sadistic, sociopathic, narcissistic, tries to kill people, whether it be with spells or otherwise. These types of people, yeah, they go around trying to convince everyone that we're crazy for not tolerating their abuse or speaking up about it. But they don't want people to know that they're crazy for abusing people and then trying to cover it up. It's a different breed of crazy, love. It's scary, exactly. And not that kind of crazy. I'm not judging people for mental health issues. This is different. Okay? Here, let me explain this. And actually, I'm not going to explain it. I'm going to let someone else explain it. But I was watching a video by, I think this guy's a doctor. He is. He's an MD and a PhD. So he's a doctor and also, what is that, psychology of some kind? Doctor of Philosophy. Okay. Highest level of academic achievement. Okay. Typically per student, yeah, I like this. Fields like science, engineering, and this is humanities. I do a lot of social sciences, so that makes sense. Okay. So this is a doctor named Andrew van der Vaart. And interestingly enough, it's been Robert Van Horn causing problems for me, but Mr. Van der Vaart did a video on this criminal, on a murderer. And some of the things that he said about this murderer and some of the things that this murderer said himself very closely mimic and emulate the things that I've been saying. And two of them. One, I don't want people to, well, really, I guess both of these points merge into one. I don't want people to let people who have addiction convince them that the abuse is tolerable because they're an addict. Oh, I'm only being abusive because I'm addicted. No. I have met people who have been struggling with addiction. Good people, but they struggle with addiction. Yeah, I'm interested to hear what you have to say, actually, about that. And they don't go around, addiction brings out the worst of everybody, okay? Even the best people. And I'm not discrediting that or minimizing that, but what I will say is that even at their worst of worst, the good people, they still don't stoop to the level of the ones who are really bad and nasty. And the thing about that is, I've dealt with people like this. People who are addicted on drugs or alcohol will often they will try to convince you that they're only being abusive because of the drugs and alcohol. When you're dealing with a really abusive person, it doesn't matter whether they're sober or whether they're under the influence, they're still abusive. The difference is, just like when somebody's drunk, they might be able to walk, as long as they're an able-bodied person who can walk normally, right? When they're drunk, they might still be able to walk. It's just not going to be in a straight line. Similarly speaking, that abuser is still going to be abusive, drunk or sober, on some kind of drug or not. But the difference is, like they can't walk in a straight line, if at all, then as well, when under the influence, they also can't keep up that so-called nice guy mask as well. And it slips more easily when they're under the influence because they're inebriated. Their inhibitions are lower. They're not paying as much attention. They're not as in tune with their physical surroundings, body, etc. Okay? But the thing about that is, I've had plenty of people, abusive people, try to say, blame their abuse on addictions, but they're abusive when they're sober too. And then there are people who I, again, know have had addictions, and they're not abusive. Like, these other people are abusive, and the other people are abusive when they're sober or not. But then you've got people, whether under the influence or not, they still don't hurt people like that. So my bottom line is, do not let people convince you that they're only being abusive because they're an addict. I'm sure addiction brings out the worst of people, yeah, but some people, even at their worst of addictions, never stoop to that level because they're not abusive on drugs or otherwise. Okay? Abusers will remain abusers. I mean, even the ones, some of these people had decent upbringings. Jeffrey Dahmer, for example, apparently lived in a pretty stable house, middle-class family who seemed to love him, and he still went around trying to play mad scientist with people. And you know what? Actually, one of the people who I've been dealing with, that main person, he reminds me in a lot of ways, unfortunately, of Dahmer. You'll end up in there. You'll end up there with the worst of them, like Bundy and Dahmer too. You wasted all your time trying to tamper with our lives. Okay, so here's this. And he said a sociopath will be abusive whether they are a drug addict or not. And I saw this yesterday, but I've been saying this for months again and years. And I really appreciated this, so I did clip it.
It's kind of like that junkie mentality of like...
This is the murderer speaking, blaming it on the addiction and explaining where his headspace was. It's kind of that junkie mentality.
It's kind of like that junkie mentality of like, drag everybody, if I'm going down, you're all...
Yeah. It's kind of that junkie mentality, like I'm going to drag you down. If I'm going down, then you're going down with me. If I can't have you, nobody can. Yeah, that's narcissism at minimum as a baseline. In fact, it's probably closer to sociopathy. But narcissistic sociopathy does sound like it fits the bill.
It would be. But I mean, I'm not blaming the drugs. I mean, it was my decision to...
I'm not blaming the drugs. It was my decision to use them. So he, after many years in jail, it sounds like he has some degree of understanding, but does he understand that, or is that what he was told by a doctor or a therapist and he's just regurgitating it, you know? How honest, how genuine is this?
Use the drugs initially, but I mean, you know, yeah, I mean, you know,
I don't like this. You know, even his body language and the way he's just shrugging his shoulder and trying to brush it off, his demeanor reminds me of the person who used to throw me across this floor over here. And the behaviors are similar.
Of drug addiction almost mirror exactly the symptoms of being a sociopath. I mean, it's like the selfishness, the narcissism, or lying, manipulative.
Okay, so he's trying to say, I'm not a drug addict, I'm a sociopath. I'm like, no, you can be both.
Self-centered, self-indulgent.
Or, I'm not a sociopath, I'm a drug addict. No, you can be both.
They're all...
Plenty of people do drugs and never murdered people. You've got some issues.
Similar. The only difference is that a sociopath will be that way whether they're a drug addict or not.
Thank you.
It's kind of like that junkie mentality of like...
Okay, let's just give him one more recap on that.
They're all very similar. The only difference is that a sociopath will be that way whether they're a drug addict or not.
Thank you. How long have I been saying that? Okay. Okay, no, I'm not saying anybody should be doing drugs, but I am saying that there are plenty of people who have, and they don't get violent. All right, there's one more. I'm going to go back. And then this is something I've also taught on before. And yes, therapy's great, but narcissists don't typically want to change. So, and also narcissists don't typically get therapy. The reason that I know that the person targeting me was diagnosed as a narcissistic sociopath was I tried to leave him when my daughter was a brand spanking new infant. And he said, probably his dad told him to ask this, please don't leave me. Let's go to couples therapy. So I said, all right. I found a recommendation for a good therapist and we went for 3 sessions, just 3. And after the 3rd session, she figured out that he was some kind of sociopath just based on his demeanor, his carelessness, the way what he was saying, how he was saying it, he was just nasty and self-entitled and mean. And thought he had the right to do it carelessly. But he didn't have enough psychology comprehension to understand that someone else was going to pinpoint his BS the same way I did, especially from a professional standpoint. But that's exactly what she did. She said, yeah, well, maybe you should stop drinking and drugging and being abusive. And, and he said, no, you're just siding with MGem because you're both women. You both have vaginas, and that's why you're ganging up on me. No, you're just a sociopath, and we both see it, in fact, but all right. And so he quit going after that and has been terrorizing me for over a decade ever since, over 10 years straight ever since. But after that point, she looked at me and said, yeah, he's some kind of narcissistic sociopath. And she had the qualification to say that because he was also her patient until he quit going, and I kept going because it was nice to have a rational, professional person to sit with while I was dealing with a narcissistic sociopath who gaslights every day, all the time, about everything and nothing, even including the stupid stuff. And if you're going to lie about the little stuff, how can anybody trust you when it's big? Pea brain. So there's that. 27, 22. But yeah. So sometimes narcissists will end up in therapy. If it's not a court that mandates them, then it's something like the couples therapy situation. But here's the thing. This person, let's go to couples therapy. This was a statement to say, well, you're wrong for leaving and maybe we need somebody else to convince you to stay with me. And no, that's not what happened. No, she told me to leave. She told me to leave. But she didn't say it in so many words. She said, you need to make sure to focus on, not having codependency, which was her way of saying, this dude is not good for you. You don't need him around. Leave. Focus on yourself, honey. And I already knew that. That's why I was there. I was trying to leave. And he said, don't leave. Let's go to couples therapy. He thought the couples therapist was going to side with him and say that I was the problem or I was being irrational, but she didn't. She saw my point. She knew I was correct because it was a rational, valid, and education-based point, a psychologically sound point, and it was irrational to stay in that situation, but that's what he wanted because he's irrational. He thought he could convince other people to tell me that me being a good person, doing the right thing, and leaving toxicity was bad. And you know what? All these people he sent after me, those are the only people that he could get to help him, and that's what they've been saying, but they're all mad that I either won't deal with them or I walked away. So of course they enable him. They all feel the same. You're mean because you walked away from me. No, you're mean. You're toxic, so I had to walk away. You're not even good for yourself. You're certainly not good for me, and I've got a rule of thumb in my house. If I wouldn't trust you around my daughter, you don't need to be around me. Toodles. Nor do I want you around me. And you know what? I don't want people around me, certainly not in or around my house, that make me have to sage or Palo Santo after you leave. Stay gone. Okay? So now that that's been appropriately addressed and established, moving on. But this is the problem. Regardless of how they end up in therapy, often therapy does not teach narcissists how to be better. Now, some of them can learn to regulate their emotions. They can learn their trigger points, that they're inclined to manipulate people, and then maybe what they should do instead of following those impulses. In fact, there is a diagnosed narcissist on YouTube who has a whole channel about this. He is a diagnosed narcissist, and he educates people on all these things, on how he would be manipulating people, and also in this case how to recognize when other narcissists or sociopaths are similarly. This one is a double-edged sword because narcissists want attention, so he's over here getting thousands and thousands at minimum of views on publicizing the fact that he's a narcissist. So be mindful is the thing, right? That's what they want, the attention. But also, I gotta give him this, he's educating people. Okay? So here's the second piece. This is also from that doctor, Andrew Vandervaart.
Was this sincere?
This is what you have to ask. Are they being genuine? Have they just learned enough psychology to try to tell you what they think you need to hear in order to manipulate you into buying it for long enough for them to pull one over on you? Because they don't need you to keep believing it. They just need you to believe it for long enough for them to target you or get what they want. Like the situations I saw where people had hired criminals to work on their property, right? House being built next door. One of the people who was hired was part of this biker gang that has actually been targeting me. And one person said, well, they seem nice. I said, yeah, they have to. If they hadn't pretended to be nice to your face, you wouldn't have hired them to come around or be close to my property after they worked with people to try to target me. But you see, they sucked up to you so that you'd hire them and you bought it.
Was this sincere?
And I warned you in advance. And then they were so cocky, they didn't even try to hide their freaking gang logo. They wore it on their hoodies and their hats daily. Cocky.
Old school principle in psychiatry, which is that you should not actually do psychotherapy with antisocial people because you'll end up just teaching them more ways to appear trustworthy, but potentially just aid them in their manipulation.
And that's correct.
Now, this idea has
it's a double-edged sword. This idea has been challenged, he's saying, because, like I said, sometimes there are people, narcissistic people, who, yes, they use this information on the negative to manipulate people. Like if they learn about psychology, they try to use it as reverse psychology, and they try to target people this way.
With the
But on the flip side, like that other narc who has this whole channel, he has a girlfriend, it seems, but he educates people on what the manipulation tactics are, and then also on levels where and how he would be recognizing those, and maybe what, let's say like an addict gets a craving to drink. Instead of going to do that drinking, they know that they need to go do something productive or call their sponsor, or they have something else that they need to do to shift that energy and shift that focus. Well, it's kind of the same for narcissism. If they wanted to have some of that self-control and do something better, then they could, but most of them just don't care or don't want to. And this is where the majority of them, this is where this part comes in, and it's dangerous. Today you posted some camera stuff, someone near your house. Not today, but I don't believe, but I did recently.
Been challenged with the not unreasonable question of, well, what can you do for antisocial personalities if not therapy, right? But I have to wonder if there was something to the old school idea, particularly when you contrast Michael Alec's insightful seeming statements with a later scene where he's joking and laughing with his friend about dumping Angel's body in the river.
Yeah, I mean, like, are you really sorry though? Because that's not funny. Laughing, claiming that he's remorseful and he's not a sociopath and he was just a drug addict, but then he's laughing about murdering the person that he murdered, which is pretty sociopathic. It just... Hello, red flags. So anyway, there's that, my darlings. Let's move back into a more positive energy.
into a line and I really ain't about it. I'm gone. In the zone, you can't call my phone, but won't find me home. I'll be out on that. Ooh, I'm gone. In the zone, you can't call my phone, but won't find me home. I'll be out on me and mine flip, working like the night shift. Who gon' get you right, dog? Who gon' make it righteous? If we don't write this, built it from the ground up, bird's eye view, like I caught the red eye. Notepad by the bedside, and every time I get a thought, I let the pen slide. The drive got no limits, no ceiling, might just let the roof back. Right around the city, who's that? No soul, but feel like Luke Jack. Too real to derail and lose track. I still put the work in what I lack. I still put the feelings on wax. I still need a hidden on that. I listen in a suit and tie, no doubt that I ain't never seen no slack. Keep the way I'm growing intact. Look, I don't need no feedback. Clock is ticking, time's running out, so I'm shooting like T-Mac. Act like I ain't never seen no bag, cause sometimes I can't relapse. I just been stuck in a maze and trying to find ways. Meanwhile, been stacking their legs. In other words, not on my plate, no picking and choosing. This ain't no typical wave. I try to tell them I'm great. They look on my records, they see that I'm making my case. I take a look around the room, I'm paying no mind. I think I'm okay out of place. Still got a smile on my face. You can't bring me down. It's looking like I levitate. I got them lapping around. I'm lapping them now. I ain't even running a race. The outcome is coming in twos. One of you lose, but I know the odds are my fate. Staying low key when I move. I'm taking a view. You can't even find it on me. No way. Drinking a lot of my chase. But the money on me. I'm making a place.
Are you talking about the... I posted photos of some of the cameras the other day. Yeah, there are actually more cameras now. Like, since that photo was posted, there are more security cameras up. More of them have been put up, and then there are more also that still will be going up. Just a few more. Somebody says when? Immediately. But yes, and the reason that I posted that was because that 4-page hate-filled letter, that 4-page criminal confession of harassment and threats that they sent to my mailbox, which is a felony crime, by the way. You can get 5 to 20 years in prison for that. One of the things that they wrote in there was something about the security cameras, either saying that I didn't have them, or, I mean, if you read that quote, actually, I'll pull it up. I directly quoted the thing that they said in it. The courts and, this is verbatim, this is what they wrote in the letter. The courts and police are no longer going to do anything for you, as you are a waste of their time, like calling someone because someone stole a cookie in your yard. No, I had set some stuff out for these construction workers that I baked. And one of these losers came in the night because I forgot to pull the Tupperware container in. And they stole a freaking cookie out of my driveway. Not even a cookie. They stole like 3 cookies and 2 croissants, or 3 croissants and a few cookies. So I made both. Actually, they were cookies. They were cookie croissants. And then I made regular cookies on the side. I heard that. You're a good neighbor. Yeah, I used to make them for this crappy neighbor next door too, before she started to terrorize me with them. Because they're all involved and friends. But anyway, the court, like calling them because someone stole a cookie in your yard. And that's not what the call was about. I wasn't calling a stolen cookie. I didn't care about the cookie. I cared about the trespassing. The cookie was just evidence that, well, someone was there, because they were there when I went to bed and they weren't when I woke up. If you really have so many cameras like you claim, she said, and you're a psychic, why don't you know who took a cookie? Okay, Cookie Monster. And that's why I posted this. That is what they wrote on paper and sent to my mailbox in confession of their crimes. Like an idiot. But that is why I quoted that paragraph directly and then posted those photos. In fact, I'll link these in the description box. That's funny. I wish I hadn't done that. Yeah, I bet you do now. Little buckaroo. Yeah. Oh, a cross between Cookie Monster and Oscar the Grouch. Hashtag garbage can't. Basura. Trash. So anyway, that's that. Let's pull some cards really quickly before I head out. And then I'm going to go bump some music and tune out any distractions. Take a shower and then get some stuff done. So I hope everybody has a good day or evening. Call upon source. This message came out earlier too. Stay hot and let them rot. Oh, don't worry, we will. Either this is an air sign being targeted, or, which that would be me, air sign being targeted, or this is an air sign doing some targeting. It doesn't surprise me because sometimes I come across very toxic air sign energies and they think that they can be combative with me because we're both air signs, so they think it's a fair match. But that would be like a kindergartner trying to challenge the teacher to a trivia game. Who do you think is going to have more information, the teacher or the kindergartner? First grader. Probably not the child. Not that way. Not versus the studied, professionally trained teacher, yeah? Not in that case, not on those topics. Right. 422, or 4220 rather. Yeah, show no fear. Don't worry, we've got it. Also, I shoved these back in the deck and they both popped back out again. So extra emphasis on that. Show no fear. Oh, confuse them. And it is confusing them because they thought that they were going to scare us by trying to be intimidating, and then they get, when that doesn't work, when they think that they're going to intimidate people by trying to be scary and it doesn't work, they get scared. It spooks them. It backfires on them. And frankly, so are their jar spells. And that was the point of this message. Yeah, repel that bee. Clarity will become obvious to the eyes. I'm guarded. Send good intentions. Like, I forgive you for being a clown, dude, but I'm not buying tickets to your circus. Not my circus, not my monkeys, not my clowns, and I wouldn't take them if they were free. So, toodles. I hear this. Hilarious.
Yeah. I can never die, got a lit spirit. Billy on my mind, 99 digits. Cheated one easy, now we no limit. Bitch, I did the time, this is not a gimmick. Clocked in 10,000 hours, peaking super same power. Making dough in my tower.
Kitchen's got a lot of flour.
Got out my cold shower.
Pack a big bowl sour.
Smoke my own brand flower. Look down and wave to all the doubters.
Hello, bitch.
If you think you got advice for me,
Keep it to yourself. These bitches think they're so tight with me. Have a good day. Hi. On your pick, bitch.
Y'all stay stressed about exterior. Hot girl, but her brain's inferior. Old bitch, my heart superior. Flow sick, ill than bacteria. Serious. A killer that's on period.
I'm doing it prettier. Really, though. Y'all stay silly, though.
Can never die, got a lit
Spirit.
Billy on my mind, 99 digits. Cheated one easy, now we no limit. Bitch, I did the time,
This is not a gimmick.
Zach is on the track, you know I'ma kill it.
See me in my swag, they go try to steal it. Make 100 brains when I write a lyric. To all my fans, share it to my critics. My circle tight, let the gram fool you. You can always take your time. You could be a new you, baby, if you work your light. Let's practice some voodoo under the new moon tonight. I was just a little girl growing up in MDI. Now we're selling out the world. We about to feast. I can never die. I got a lit spirit. Billy on my mind, that ain't 9 digits. Cheated wasn't easy, now we no limit. Bitch, I did the time. This is not a gimmick. If Zach is on the track, you know I'ma kill it. See me in my swag, they gon' try to steal it. Make 100 bands when I write a lyric. Shout out to my critics. For those who want a bit of Reiki, I'm going to send some of that just to clear the energy before I pop off of here to go take care of myself and my routine the rest of the way. Hi, big boy. I love you so much. Just the cutest boy. Babies. Cheers. There's sovereignty Reiki coming through. There's also abundance Reiki coming through. There's peace and protection Reiki coming through. I hear also serenity and salinity Reiki. Salinity is about saline content or salt quantity rather. And so 2 things. It's about just making sure there's balance. You need salt in your body, in your system, but not too much. And this is more about the energetic reference, using the salt as an analogy, although do be mindful, hi baby, of your body's needs, of course, and remember to hydrate, but also remember that you cannot replenish your electrolytes with just water alone, please and thank you. However, this is more about clearing those salty karmic people out. All right, Sodom and Gomorrah, what did God turn the place into because these people were so corrupt? Pillars of salt. Okay, self-explanatory. Cheers. I just heard salt of the earth. That's what Divine Masculine said about me, or somebody just said about me. It was a male energy. Hold on. That one wasn't a Divine Masculine, although I've heard him say that before. That one was a fallen masculine. Somebody asks how and why. Because the energetic imprint is different. Divine Masculine might not be perfect, but his frequency is different, brighter, higher than the others. The fallen the karmic males are the lowest of them all. And the fallen masculines, they embody that low energy too. But because at one point, yeah, that's right. Okay, I just got an analogy. Of course, that's the analogy I got. Biological father was a mechanic. I grew up in an auto shop. Anyway, so, it's like, if you get a used car and you put new parts on it, right? You get other spare parts from another car that's a similar make or model, and you replace, maybe that car got into an accident, and you take still good parts off of an identical car that's no longer drivable but still has good body on the outside, and you swap it on the car that got into an accident. But the serial number on that car that got into an accident, even if it has a new shell on the outside, it's still the same car. And often if you are in an accident, especially if the tires get messed up and the alignment gets messed up, sometimes if the axle gets bent or something, even if you get an alignment, things are so damaged that it's just always going to be a problem, and really it's more effective just to get a new car. At that point, it's kind of a total. It entirely is. Hi, baby. You are just the sweetest boy. I love you. I do. My big cuddle babies. So, his energy is just different. Karmic males is karmic, has been, it's been that way across the board. But it's like the serial number, while it's a totaled car, while he's a totaled car, metaphorically speaking, while it's not, no going back, there's just none. This is one of those where you can try to make it look pretty on the outside, but again, the alignment's all jacked up. It will never drive the same again. It's just, it's done. It's karmic now. It's totaled. But the serial number on the inside still says that at one point it was a good car. The karmics didn't. So even though now this fallen masculine resonates with, embodies the energy of a karmic because he is a karmic, he became a karmic, his initial like factory number said that that's not what he was supposed to be. He wasn't supposed to total himself. He was supposed to be a divine masculine. And so the energy is different. Karmic male's way down here. The fallen masculine could have been where divine masculine is up here. But he was kind of here. And then he lowered himself to here. But his serial number, so to speak, his spiritual serial number, like a car, says that he was here. And that he was supposed to be here. But it shows that he crashed and totaled himself. Let other people help him. Yeah, see, I mean, like, I don't wish bad things for people, but these are people who, how can you function in a car that doesn't work, right? How can you get from point A to point B? We don't need these types of people and that type of negativity in our lives. Yeah, see? Somebody says, well, how did you, well, because I heard it and I picked it up at first, but then I sat with it to figure out exactly who and where and what the frequency, what I checked the serial number. I heard the message and then I checked the serial number. Yeah, 5222. Somebody says, how do you do that? It's one of my gifts. It's there. How do you do that? It's one of my gifts. I know. It's what made him karmic. They didn't stop doing that. God just let them stay there. I now call all of my power and my energy back to me. Yeah, they are confused because it didn't work. In all directions of infinite space and time. From this life and any others, from this dimension and realm or any others, from any person, place, thing, or timeline. It's mine. I now sever all vows of poverty and connection. Poverty, celibacy, or anything hindering and blocking my path forward, my destiny path, my future, from past lives or previous incarnations or anything, incarnations or not. Look, split the deck, 5322. Exactly. I hope you have good snacks. Eat well. Yeah, see, they're in low vibes. They're in low vibes. Told you, I checked the serial number. Low. Divine masculine. Karmic male was here. Fallen masculine was here. Karmic male was here. Fallen masculine lowered himself to karmic level. Divine masculine still up here. So they're energy vampires. Keep sitting unbothered. I guess you are safe. They're not. But you are, and so am I. Please remember to pray. Do no harm, take no crap. And I will catch you on the next one. Blessings and namaste. 5422.